naturally, I'm very delighted to be able to be asked questions by you, to give you whatever answers I can think of, and to have the opportunity to talk to you and all the people we hope will see this. That's first of all. Second of all, you asked me a question: why did I stop writing novels to make movies? Third of all, that's like asking me a question: when did I die? I'm not dead yet, and I haven't stopped writing novels at all. I am finishing one now about my version of Vietnam. It's a big book. It'll be difficult to sell. And it tells the story of Vietnam from the point of view of a 10-year-old Vietnamese communist boy, the whole war, and about Ho Chi Minh and General Giap and Mao Zedong and the president and Stalin, about everyone, Russia. The idea of the book, told from this boy's head, is that all these countries, all the major countries, France, Indochina, everyone was right in going there to fight. But in the end of the book, you find out all of them were wrong, because not one of them gave a good goddamn about the people of Indochina or Vietnam. Now, that's the novel. And I explain why. Everything was selfish, and Vietnam was a big cake. And the United States and Russia and France, everyone, Japan, everyone, they wanted a piece of that cake. Yeah. Not because the cake tasted good, but the cake was near other pieces of cake, like Indonesia and Manchuria and China. You understand? All right. Yeah. That's the book. I am finishing it. I will never stop writing novels. You see, I enjoy them. And why, I guess you want to know why I went from novels into movies. Well, that was a normal thing, but novels had nothing to do with it. It was just the experience of being a newspaper reporter and coming in contact with many stories was the same as a child in a big boutique of candy, of chocolate. All the chocolate in the world to eat, and those became stories to me. So when it started with the studios asking me, one of them, the first one, MGM, they wanted to use one of the stories I wrote, murder, always murder, crime, for a movie. But they wanted me to make fiction for the ending, because it's a movie. They did not want the real story. This was years ago, MGM, and they offered me $5,000. They can use anything in a paper, but they had no ending, because it's a real murder, 2 murders. And they offered me $5,000 for a fiction ending, and I laughed. I was 17, 18 years old, and I did not like fiction. For years, I was brought up to write facts, nothing but facts. No adjectives, no words to give a feeling to the reader how I feel about you. And if you killed your mother, and I write about you, with words, I could make the people who read the paper and the jury and the judge like you or hate you. So all personal and all adjectives out. Everything like that is out. That's how I was brought up. So you see how difficult it was for me to even think of a boy meets a girl and he falls in love and her father's in trouble and the boy saves the father, then he saves the girl, and then he marries her. That's good, but I never wrote the Shirley Temple story. Then the war came in. And after the war, I wrote a story with my name. Original, the studio would not take it. I wrote number 2, they wouldn't take it. I wrote number 3, wouldn't take it. But they liked the writing. They did not like the content. Mm-hmm. We don't want to expose anything. Patriotism, police, or religion. Keep away from all that. It's very dangerous. Be good to mama, be good to animals, and to children. So I came up with the idea. Well, originally I wanted to do the story of Cassius. Cassius is a man who thought, it was his idea, to kill Julius Caesar. It's a revolution against a dictator. And he did not want to have anything to do with the Romans who wore the togas and sat around swimming pools and baths. And I said, why not? You know, it's a warm country. He said, well, you know, those men, you know. I said, no, I don't know. He says, we keep away from anything like that. Oh, you mean homosexual? What's wrong with that? No. I didn't say. He said, I didn't say it. Anyway, I gave him 4 or 5 names of assassins. That's what I'm interested in. Not the victim, but the assassin. He said, no. So then I said, how about doing the story of Robert Ford? And he said, who is he? I said, he's the man who shot Jesse James. And he jumped up. He says, that's what I want, a Western. So I made my first picture on the condition. I wrote it. I directed. Right? Not that the pictures I wrote were badly directed, but I would have done it differently. And it doesn't mean the way I would have done it would have been right. But it would have been my way. So he said, fine, and I made the picture. 10 days. His money, independent, $104,000, 10 days. Very small crew. But the cameraman, the sound man, the makeup man, any engineer behind the damn camera, the prop man and the grip are all very professional. My luck. That's just luck. This is a real movie crew. And when the New York Times reviewed it, we opened in a big theater, Palace Theater, 10-day picture. No names. They said it's the first psychological Western. It's not. It's not. They have words. Reviewers like to use words so that the reader will think the review is very intelligent. You see, it's not difficult to review somebody else's work. But what the man didn't know when it was all over was I end the picture with Robert Ford, the man who shot and killed Jesse James in the back, his best friend, who lived with him. He is dying. And his girl runs out to the street and grabs him. And he says, the dying assassin says, I'm sorry what I done to Jesse. And the camera moves right up to him. He says, I loved him. And we go out. Now, to Robert Lippert, who financed the picture. He said, that's great. That's like John Wayne men stuff, see? But the New York Times said it is not John Wayne. It's a homosexual Western. Anyway, that's how I got in. That's how I started to make pictures. Anybody in Hollywood writes about different ethnic qualities. I have my own personal reason, because I've seen many movies, and I get bored with the same story where the bad men are, let's say it's a gangster story, they're Italians. They are thieves in politics, they're all Irish. They are very much, they steal in business, they're Jewish. They fool around with meetings, and they're Nazis, because right away it's militant. And that's a small part of the world. This is what I have to tell you. Into another picture I made, which you brought up, called Crimson Kimono. Now, in there, the simple story is two friends from the war, one white, one Japanese, live together. They fall in love with a white woman. They're both nice men, detectives, cops. She falls in love with the Japanese boy. Now, the head of Columbia said, okay, we go. But, this is true, wonderful man. He said, in the beginning, can't you just make a little bit where the white man is just a little bit of a son of a bitch? Ah, I said, then we are going against my idea.
To give her a reason.
Then everybody will say, he's no good, and say to the girl, yes, go to the Japanese fellow, he's good. That's no good. Now, they used to make pictures like that. David Wark Griffith
Yeah.
made Broken Blossoms.
Yeah.
Now, that's a very racist story.
You think so?
Oh, yeah! One. He has Richard Barthelmess made up as Chinese.
Yeah.
That's ridiculous. All the audience know he's a white actor. He's a star.
Yeah.
So if he touches her, they don't do this. He can even kiss her. It's Richard Barthelmess, number one. She lived with her father. Every day, he had nothing to do, he hits her. Bang! Bang! Did you see the picture?
Yes.
Bang! She was a mouse, remember?
Yeah.
She came in, she was afraid. Bingo. This is his exercise because he's a fighter. Now, when she finds safety with this young Chinese fellow, then Mr. Griffith felt he was secure. He is brave. He's not brave. He was a coward. He was a coward. If the girl, of her own volition, of her own feeling, went to Richard Barthelmess, I'd buy it. But she was driven to him because of physical violence. Now, that's bad. Not only bad, that's childish. It's very childish. Now, in Crimson Kimono, the important thing was that as long as I kept the two of them level, I also have to be honest with the Japanese American. So that in the end, and the Japanese loved it in Little Tokyo, that's the neighborhood in Los Angeles, that they liked. In the end, when the girl picks him and she walks off with him, he says to the white friend of his, are we still friends? That's an important thing. And he doesn't take the hand. And he says, listen. The white man says, listen, I got angry because I was jealous. I don't care who took her. And the Japanese fellow says, bullshit. If I were white, you wouldn't feel that way. And when he leaves, I want to make sure he and him has racism. And we forced it. That's the story I want. I went to Little Rock, Arkansas, and I had to get the names of some Clavern leaders. A Clavin is a group of KKK men. Behind, I don't know how to say that in French, a hardware store.
Ku Klux Klan.
A hardware store.
Quincaillerie. Qui se cache derrière une quincaillerie.
Now, they have a meeting there, and all I want is to get the names of the leaders. I'm sent by them. Now, I'm not a brave man. If they hit me, kill me, throw me in a river, it means nothing to my editor. There'll be another man. But I did know one thing. The minute I walked in, I said, my name is Fuller of the Journal. That's William Randolph Hearst. He's powerful, and they love power. He's rich, they love rich. That's Citizen Kane, the real one. Down with the Jews, down with the Catholics, down with the niggers. That's their line. The KKK. Now, this. When I was asked to do White Dog, I tried to get that feeling. See? Yeah. And I found out that there are racists and black people, black races, that really use their own black skin to lie, cheat, steal, and get ahead in business. Listen carefully. I found that out through White Dog. And it's a shame because when you pour your heart out for something, I just wanted to say one thing in that picture, that there's only one thing lower than a racist, and that is a racist who trains a dog to be a racist, you see? Now, that picture was, I'm not going to that, was never shown in the United States in theaters. Not in theaters, in television. The important thing I'd like to bring out in that picture is, for the benefit of the people, if they're watching this program, watching this show here, this interview, never saw the picture, it's just a story of a murder takes place in an insane asylum, and a reporter gets himself indoctrinated with the blessing of an editor and the psychological jurisdiction of a psychiatrist to be admitted into an insane asylum to find out who killed the man. In the course of trying to find out who killed the man, he learns there are 3 witnesses to the killing in the insane asylum. Each witness then becomes a mirror of the United States. Now, for the black, I based it on a real man, Meredith, a young man who was the first in Mississippi to go to university. In my character, he cannot take it. There's punishment. He goes crazy, and he thinks he's black, remember. He thinks he is the founder of the Ku Klux Klan. He puts a pillowcase on his head, and he starts a riot with the most famous American white expression back home. Say, would you let your daughter marry a black man? That's a famous line. Would you? You have to answer me. You would. Oh, you wouldn't. You don't know what to say. You don't know what to say. It's embarrassing. If there are a lot of people that, hell no! No goddamn nigger coming into my family. You see? So he makes a speech. This is a black man making a speech. Now, what he said, I didn't write. Oh, I changed a couple of things. What he said were the speeches of 3 of the great American United States senators. White! Saying, we got nothing against those little pickaninnies. Put them in a bus and burn it! If you don't want to burn the goddamn bus, put them in a boat and burn it! If you don't want to burn the goddamn boat, let the boat get back to Africa! I ain't got nothing against them, but out! Right? Now, these are 3 famous senators. In America, in my interviews, I gave the names of the senators. They never mentioned them in the papers. Never mentioned them. But the newspapermen knew exactly who the hell said what. Now, when the black man spoke like a KKK man, saying insane words, he was insane.
Yes.
He was insane. But the words originally spoken by the senators of the United States, they made those speeches on the radio and in front of people. They were not supposed to be insane. I say they are insane.
Yeah.
Do you see?
Yeah.
Bilbo, B-I-L-B-O. That's a very important senator. He's a racist. Very, very big racist. A lot of that speech came from his mouth in Nashville, Tennessee. You see? You cannot, if I do another picture now, I was asked to do a few more on racism, anti-racism. I'll do it if I get excited about the possibility of having the enemy see the picture. Do you see? Yeah. I must have a reason for my characters, the characters that I would write, not to talk with their mouth shut. I had a scene where the man who marries the Indian girl wants to know, why do you want to marry me, or why did you marry me? They're on their honeymoon. Did you marry me to change your luck? I wrote this. She says, what does that mean? He says, well, where I come from, when a man sleeps with a black girl, his luck changes. Good. Maybe you are doing this. So while I wrote that, I said, I became my own censor. It's a very good line, honey. It's an exact line of a reflection of the mirror of the mentality between blacks and whites. But I very seldom do this. I took it out myself. Ironically, the studio liked it when they read it. I became my own censor. But in that picture, which made me very happy, it's the first time the Indians do not lose. They did not only lose, they didn't massacre everybody. So they allowed the whites to live, some of them, and said, go back and tell your goddamn president or general you broke the rule. In Run of the Arrow, I wrote a character, now you must get the right word for this in French, who is a misfit that doesn't belong in civilization. Number one. He also had to be a man that looks ridiculous on a horse. I saw a heavy man. The more meat he had on him, the more hate he had for the United States inside him. That's my character that I wrote. Now, Tom O'Neill, who is then the owner of RKO, who was really, he's the head of General Tire. RKO is only one company. General Tire owns over 75 companies. The smallest was RKO. He said, I want Gary Cooper. I like him. I said, everybody likes him. But that's not the good character. Gary Cooper looks beautiful on a horse. Tall, lean, typical American Western cowboy type, you see? Number two, they like him. I don't want them to like him. I want them to be interested in him and maybe feel sorry for him, but never to like him. He represents a policy of politicians in the South that's dead and forgotten. I like him because, my character, not the other, because he lost Perdue. And everybody who loses is angry. I don't like a loser who smiles, who laughs, who says, je me moque. I don't buy it. Now, twice on location, I was with Joe Byrock, my cameraman, and in a motel twice, Tom O'Neill called. He's alive, he's a big shot, the head of General Tire. He said, I can't sleep, I still want Gary Cooper. I said, look, I broke my ass on this script, getting this character a symbol of the Confederate States of America. I dug up songs against the Declaration of the United States and against the Constitution. I have dialogue in there where he said Abraham Lincoln did not die soon enough. He calls him a baboon, an ape, a gorilla. All that. I didn't break my ass on all that for Gary Cooper. He'd be wrong. He's thinking of two things. One, the money is very important with Cooper. Do you understand? Gary Cooper picture. So that's why I didn't want to use him. Now, in Merrill's Marauders, that was written for Cooper. I broke my ass on that. Yeah. The way he acts in his taciturn, not too much dialogue. When I did not like Burma and we're looking in the Philippines, Jack Warner called and said, you cannot have Gary Cooper. He's dying of cancer. That's as close as I came to make it work. So I said, I need a man who looks like a papa, a parent, a father, but whose body can be with young men. Somebody whose face looks old. So he said, what about Jeff Chandler? I said, great, this is on the phone. He has white hair, and that's how he got it. Okay. But Cooper would have been, to me, very wrong, because his presence after 25 or 30 years on the screen, whatever he did, you would know he's right. And I didn't want you to think that. I wanted you to only think of that character. He thinks he's right. See? Now, there is the birth of racism in the South. When he has a scene, you saw the picture with the American officer, the Yankee. And the Yankee says, it's after the war, what about those men walking around in bed sheets and wearing those damn sheets over their head? And Rod Steiger's answer, Gary Cooper could never have said that. Never. He said, I don't know what you're talking about. Must have been somebody else. And the Yankee says, that's the trouble with you. That's your alibi. It's always somebody else. Do you see? Now, when this played in the South, the first half, the people loved it. In about 5 states, 6 states, they loved the picture. When the man is singing the song against the Declaration of the United States, and the goddamn Yankees, they applauded. They have Confederate flags in the theater. But in the end, when the Indian woman says, you son of a bitch, there's a flag. Is your tribe, your family, one of these stars? Boo! They didn't like. Because you must understand, when you lose, there's a certain psychological thing that takes place. When I made a picture called Merrill's Marauders, we shot it in Philippines, but it's about Burma. Now, I have a scene of the Americans fighting the Japanese. And the scene is around, how do you say, the foundations of big oil cans, as big as this building. Building for oil and gasoline. They're all gone except the buttresses, the foundation stone. That foundation looked very much to me, in Japan, like the stones of the Siegfried Line in Germany. And when we fought there, we shot each other, and the Germans shot each other. We don't know who we're shooting at. It's insanity. Quick, quick. Quick, you can't, your eye cannot catch it. Too fast. Lightning. You move, she moved, bam, her head is gone, she's gone, everything like that. And we saw the result, the survivors. And all the bodies were mixed together, Germans and Americans. The blood was the same, the hands, everything was the same. But we could not tell who was who until you picked picked to the dog tag. All right. So I made the same scene based on that in the Philippine Islands, in Merrill's Marauders, and they shoot. Now I get a call from Jack Warner of Warner Brothers. He saw it, loves it, just loved it. But you've got to do one thing. You have to show when an American, even an American shoots, you have no scenes of Japanese getting killed. You must cut. Just like when a good man, when Gary Cooper shoots, boom, that's a bad man. John Wayne shoots, bad man. All right, he got the gun, bing, 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 bing. Indian, boom, 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 boom. You see? Well, I didn't shoot an Indian or a Western in this. This is what we call close combat. The closer the combat is, the more dangerous for everybody. There's smoke all over the place. And anything that moves, you kill. So you don't move. But then you have to move. Because somebody hits you, a bad. And when you move, you'll kill. That's how. So I said, I cannot do this for this picture, to him, very nice. I cannot lower the insult of death. It's an insult of death. You're insulting death now. In a picture called The Steel Helmet, they wanted to say that the Pentagon, and they didn't like many things. They didn't like the scene of an American soldier, big, with a gun, shooting down a prisoner. Who's the prisoner? A little man, communist, Chinese, and educated. And he shoots him. And they said, that's out. We do not shoot prisoners. They do, but we don't. Okay. If I go independent, I have been lucky. This was in Hollywood Report and Variety. First time. The crew would get an okay from the studio to leave to make The Independent with me. So I used the same crew and many times the same cameraman, unless the man I want is working. Do you see? Yeah. But I'm lucky because beginning with the first picture, all my cameramen, I didn't look for a cameraman. They came and said, can I do your picture? Now, these are very big cameramen, the best. My third picture was 15 days. No, second picture was 15 days. Called The Baron of Arizona. Yeah. James Wong Howe, the best cameraman in the world, the highest paid man. He came off a 4-month picture in color for Warner's, 4 months. He said, I want to do this. America had color for musicals, Betty Grable, Gene Kelly, very glaring yellow, red, orange, green, colors that hurt your eye. Do you understand? Glaring. And along came this Japanese color, and it's like pastels. Do you know what a pastel is? Oh, pastel. They drew it, but it's beautiful, lit beautifully. And it became what a movie really is, a fairy tale. The camera does not have to have a language to talk. The camera, the lens of a camera has no nationality, thank God. None. No country can claim a lens of a camera. The camera can go anywhere and do anything, and will. We're just beginning, nothing like it. My little girl, she saw the picture. Samantha could not understand when she saw all hell there. That's what they did in most camps. The people who work in the camps live in the camp. The guards. They have little boxes with flowers and plants in front of them. And I thought, because my little girl didn't understand, I have a shot where one of the soldiers, he falls on flowers, firing, and there are, to her, the bad men he's firing at, and she couldn't understand why would these bad people, because that's their place where they have beautiful flowers, because she loves flowers. No, it's a very good question. And I explained to her, because warped. They're crazy inside here. They're like the American gangster who kills 12 people and gives his mother a flower. The image to me was very important because that boy, played by Mark Hamill, the young soldier, represents many soldiers I saw in 3 years that they knew nothing about all this. They don't, not an interest. Farmers working in stores, clerks, do you understand?
Yeah.
Drivers of trucks. They were told to kill Nazis by our general. 2 words, that's all he did. He gets up, he speaks to 15,000 men, he says, kill Nazis, and that's the speech. The speech was 2 words. Now, only when we went into the camp, and these American soldiers saw these people, they really, for the first time, got a little bit of the idea of what a Nazi was. Do you understand? They could hear stories. It's very easy to hear stories. You could read about them in the papers. We had Stars and Stripes, an army paper, Yank magazine, an army magazine. But nothing is as potent, how do you say, strong, as when a young 18, 19, 21-year-old kid runs into a place and sees something, really sees it, believe it or not. So I wanted to get that for the image, that for the first time he knew what he had been fighting. And for him to fire and fire and fire, he was firing, going crazy with his finger. But his heart and mind was telling that finger to keep squeezing. And the only reason I wanted that shot, and Lee Marvin did it beautifully for me, was when the boy runs out of bullets. Marvin takes one out of his stock, and all he does is this, gives him the clip and walks away, and that means we're all feeling the same goddamn way, fire away. That's the whole idea. Now the other one with the boy is a symbol. I never talked about Hitler and all the countries he took. I didn't want to do that in this script until the very end, where it meant something. So that when Marvin speaks to this child, he wants to know, what are you? Jew? Pole? Norwegian? Denmark? French? Whatever he does, every one of these countries was taken by Hitler. That's the first time I want the audience to realize how many countries he took. Boom. Each question. Now, to me, the most important thing in that shot, and Lee caught it right away, was when the boy puts his helmet on. It's a normal shot. The little boy sees a helmet. You expect the hero, the leading man, to laugh and all that. No. He doesn't want to see a kid in a helmet. That's for tomorrow, the man. That's a message. Don't teach them about army. Do you understand?
Understand.
All right. Now, he wanted that. Now, when he's holding the boy on his shoulder, now I did this. This happened to me, not to me, to a lot of fellows and to me, not just to me. We picked one, to me was a little girl. Matter of fact, I used the girl in the book, another girl. We'd pick up children in the camp. And the dead mothers were there, children. And we'd pick them up. And we'd bring them to the doctor, Dr. Tegmeyer. He said, forget it. That means oublié. The kid's going to be dead in an hour, half an hour. We carried kids that died. We carried them across water. There's a little pond. There's a pond there at Falkenau. And some of the children were playing in a pond, making boats out of wood, floating them, while we carried these others across. This happened. So all I was interested in is I said to Lee, if you can, this is very important to me only, it was important to him. If you can carry the boy, and we know he's dead, we, the audience, and the only way you can tell is the weight. That's what's called dead weight. If you weigh 100 pounds and you're dead, you weigh 110 pounds. You are heavier than you normally are, because the air around you while you're alive sucks in the buoyancy like a boat. This is true. I know what dead weight is. When you pick up a man, a body, you know right away if he's dead. Not wounded, dead. Now, so Lee, who was a Marine in the Pacific, he said, I got it. I said, all I want, and no expression. None. If there's any this much of an expression, I'm dead. Then we go into violin music. I wanted nothing. That's war. I wanted the audience to feel it. The irony is that the last battle fought in Europe, as far as the Americans are concerned, was in Falkenau, Czechoslovakia. Now, this is a concentration camp that we knew nothing about. We don't even know who the hell the prisoners were in. We only know about it less than about 800 or 100 or 900 yards from the camp. Yards. Where the platoon leader, an officer, comes and says there's a camp there. We don't know who's in it. SS. That means no prisoners. Because they take no prisoners. That's all we have to learn. We're not interested who's in it, the suffering, nothing. We only want to know who we're fighting. And so would you want to know. You just want to know who's going to be there with a gun. The attack was very short. We were a well-organized unit. It starts with a squad, and it hits 2 more squads. That's now 24 people. It hits 48. That's a platoon. Before you know it, there's still over 220 infantrymen. And we fan out and moving, all the time moving. We overlap. You know what overlap means? We overlap. You take a breather. You run. It's called a running assault. It's an assault attack. Yeah. You don't climb up. It's not a movie. Yeah. We have to be going very fast on feet by the time we reach that camp. All right. Now, we attacked it, and we took it. And Captain Walker from Division came down, 1st Division. Saw all the stuff, and there were a lot of Russians there, Poles there, French there, all kinds of prisoners. You see some with USSR on it in the back. You see what I mean? You see other things. Men and women. Many dead. And I took shots. It's called Death House in German language. Death House. That's what it's called. House and tote or something. And it's thrown in like logs of wood, just piled high. Okay? The important thing is this. I don't want to go into detail on that. You saw concentration camp stuff. I had never seen anything. This is the first time where I actually saw it. Now, Captain Walker said, hey, you got a camera. I have a 16-millimeter camera. And in Africa, I wrote to my mother to send me a 16-millimeter Bell & Howell camera in Africa. In Bamberg, Germany, a year and a half later, I get the camera. That's when I got it. Very difficult to use. I can't use it. Heavy. I get all the film I want because we took the Gevart factory. Oh, thousands of boxes of 16-millimeter film. Now, but Captain Walker said, you got a camera. We're going to have a ceremony here tomorrow. And I said, well, what is tomorrow? And he said, well, it looks like tonight, sometime tonight or tomorrow night, that piece of paper is going to have a pen sign something, and the war will be over in Europe. I said, I don't believe it. He said, well, that's what I heard. If you want to take pictures, get your camera. So my camera was with Sergeant Edwards, who is the mail. He delivers mail in a Jeep and ammunition. And it's too heavy to carry. What I got is I got one shot I can tell you about later. That is combat, but it's very difficult to have a camera. And I took pictures. I didn't alter a picture. Nothing. And they put up a red star over the gateway because there was a Russian surgeon, a general who was a doctor. I took all this. And he's making a speech to people on the hill, people here, and people there. And the doctor says, you will leave here, that group. This group will be under our care for malnutrition and tuberculosis. This group, no hope. This is where you'll die. A lot of people. They'd examined them. They couldn't save them. Now, what this man that I told you about came in, Rich, when he saw, the day we took it, the day before that, when he saw the hell there, all the hell, he went to Falkenau, which is the town. That's the town of Falkenau. That's why it's called the prisoners in Falkenau. None of these people knew there was a camp. Now, Captain Richmond didn't understand that. He's holding his nose and he's saying, what do you mean you don't know? You can smell it from a mile away, the death. There's a smell of death. So he said, all right, this is the next day. He told 4 or 5 men, get shovels. You know what a shovel is? Get shovels. Come with me. Hey, you. Yes, sir, that's me. You got any film in that goddamn camera, Sammy? Yes. Okay, you follow me. We go into the town of Falkenau. This is real. I got camera. And he walks into the bank of Falkenau. There's the man with the gray long coat, gray hair. Hit him! And one of the soldiers with a shovel, right across the chest. Whack! Collect! And everybody who said they didn't know there was a camp, he collected them in the camp. Germans. And he said, you dress all the bodies. And all the bodies are brought out. Do you remember that? And they have to dress them. Dress them. Then they put them in open cart, wagons. I have all this.
And
they
no
march them
sound.
through the town.
It's no sound, which makes it more
Yeah,
powerful.
oh, this is all silent.
It's
But this is, see, we put sound in. They have to march them through the town where the man in charge, the HUD president, he said something, and you had to take the hats off. Okay. Now, they go to a big grave, big, huge grave for hundreds of people. They have to put them in, side by side, dressed, all dressed. Suits, shirts, pants, socks, shoes. And when Rich says, get them, the clothes are got it. He's in charge of a company of riflemen, and nobody says no to him. Can you understand that? Nobody. He was so angry with the lies of these men. Now, while they're throwing earth on it, they have to cover the faces with cloth. One face was shown. They stopped the funeral. You saw that. And that boy, a Hitlerjugend boy, with the, what do you call it, the suspenders?
Lederhosen?
Yeah. Rich pointed. The kid jumped in, and this is what thrilled me. It's a thrill, because I was shocked. He was about 15. He walked among the dead like he was walking not to step on flowers. Compris? Do you know what that means, flower?
Yeah.
He took out a handkerchief and put it on the man's face, and he turned, and we all watched the boy. Now, we were sick. There were some tough guys there with me, very tough men. And they couldn't look, you see. What I shot has not been touched. Has not been touched. And this is the ending of it. On Captain Richmond's Jeep. Every Jeep has a name. Name of a man, name of your mama, name of your papa, an expression. And he had said a long time ago in Africa, when he did not have a Jeep, he said, when I have a Jeep, I'm going to call it 2 words. And that's what that'll mean when Hitler's dead. And we asked him, what is it? And he says, good show. How do you say good show in French? It's a good show. That's all. So we laughed. And when I was shooting this, I turned and there's his Jeep. And they're carrying it past, and there it is, right on a Jeep. Good show. And Hitler was dead a few days later. He killed himself. That's the story of Falkenau.